and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Guido Goes Off. Recently, we had a poll who you, the few but faithful, wanted to see in the hot seat, and, well, you were emphatic that you wanted the man sitting here in the hot seat, the founder, former CHWA champion, former CHWA Tag Team Champion, former RCW Cruiserweight Champion, I believe there's was former wildcard champion too?
I think.
Was it quite... Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Chris Exodus. Chris, long time coming, but We're finally here. Welcome to the hot seat. How are you doing tonight?
I am sore, Guido. I am sore. I apologize for my appearance. My hair is all messy and I look all gross. I actually got out of the gym right before the interview. But I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling really good. As good as I can. I mean, with the whole, thing going on in America, I don't know if I can say it because I don't know how the YouTube algorithm is.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, if we got YouTube dollars, we'd be doing this show for next to nothing. So,
But no, I mean, I'm doing good, man, overall. Just spending a lot of time with my wife, working out, and just, kind of going about my days, man. Enjoying it. Enjoying all the Facebook stuff. That's what we'll call it.
Stuff. Well, we'll get into the stuff here in a bit. Well, I mean, your name is synonymous, of course, with Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance, or CHWA, rocking this merch.
Oh, absolutely. Shameless self plug.
Hey, they gotta be shameless.
Absolutely.
But once again, I haven't been around as long. I know that CHW's been around. I've met you. I've met a lot of your talents. Of course, the whole hot seat started with, of course, one of your talents who's making a name for himself on the indie scene. Perhaps maybe not for all the right reasons, but we'll also get into that as well. But first, I guess we'll just say, how did CHWA get started?
So, it's kind of a long story. I'll try to just give it bullet points, so that way I don't eat up too much time. Essentially, man, so CHWA, it started as, like, a hobby. We were 14, I think, 13, 14. Jake Gold was, like, 12, 11. He's significantly younger than most of us. And we were just clowning around, man. Just clowning around after school. Me, Elride, Harlock Cross, VDP, Jake Gold, we're all, super fans of wrestling. We all grew up watching wrestling. Elride and I, of course, lived in the same house because he's my brother. So we all lived in the same, me and him lived in the same house. And, the earliest memories that I genuinely have as a shoot, is that just watching WCW and WWF with my dad, with Elride. And just me and Elride wrestling each other, man. Just having fun. We didn't make the best choices when we were younger, obviously. I like to think that we've grown since then. But essentially, man, one day my oldest brother, John Holt-Yo, who unfortunately passed away from brain cancer, had the idea. We were always doing like these little like shows, if you want to call them that. They're very backyard. We were 14, and we were always doing these little shows for our neighbors and our friends and our family. And John Holt-Yo just thought to pull the camera out one day and just record the entire thing. And none of it was good, obviously. Like, none of it was good. It's trampoline, cardboard boxes, ladders, backyard stuff. And we filmed it and then put it in Windows Movie Maker on Windows 7. That should date that, Windows 7. And we just edited the show and uploaded it to YouTube, and it wasn't called CHWA then. It was a different name. It was EBW. But after a couple years, man, of just having some fun in the backyard, we went to a wrestling school, and that's actually where a lot of this stuff we'll get into later started. But we went there for like 6 months, 7 months, and we were to the point we should be working shows, right? And every person at this school was telling us, like, I don't know why they're not putting you in shows. And long story, incredibly short, anybody that knows me in my personal life will tell you I'm very punk rock. I'm very DIY. I do everything myself. Most of my gear, minus my tights, because I am very bad at making tights because I can't do my waist for whatever reason. Everything, though, that I basically own is all done myself. All my guitars, I build myself. My computer, I'm very DIY because I want to be self-sufficient, right? So, one night, driving home from the wrestling school, I was with Elride because we went together, right? Me, Elride, VDP, there was I forget, there was a fourth person going with us that was, like, interested in CHWA, but, I forget what happened with them. I think they moved, it's been too many years. But one night driving home with Elride, I just told him, I said, look, man, you know, I'm sick of, like, not being able to work shows because the whole thing was I was too small because I'm 5'4" and 135 pounds, right? They looked at my brother and said, you're not strong enough because he, at the time, was a chubby kid, I guess. He's jacked now. I don't know if you've seen him recently. He's jacked. And then they looked at my friend Dylan and said, and you're too fat. So they pretty much were telling us over and over that, like, unless we met their physical standards of what they think a wrestler should look like, that we weren't going to wrestle. So finally, we just decided, hey, you know, we're just going to get a ring. We're going to do it ourselves, you know. And so we went back to the backyard, which is where a lot of this started, okay? And like you said, we'll get into that later. But we went back to the backyard. We built a ring by hand. Got the opportunity to wrestle at Sideways Comics, which was a comic book store that was looking for some local entertainment on Wednesday nights. It just so happened that's when we taped our shows, was on Wednesdays. We wrestled there for a couple months. We had a falling out a little bit with the owner, who is Dan Kobrick. And we've mended the fences, obviously, but we had a little bit of a falling out with him. He was going through a lot of stuff in his personal life. And then we went back to the backyard, and then finally, after we had acquired a ring, like an actual ring, yes, it is a small ring, but it is a wrestling ring nonetheless. I don't understand why the size of the ring matters. I think that's the dumbest thing. But we got a ring. It's a safe ring. Got it for Monster Rings and Cages. And then we acquired a building. We acquired a very nice building. We were there for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, and then we discovered black mold, really bad. And we didn't know about this the whole time we were there. And it was going to cost somewhere in the ballpark. If my dad was here, he'd have the better number for you. But it was somewhere in the ballpark, like 27 grand to fix everything. And, I mean, at that time, Guido, I'm 18. Most of my roster are 18-year-old kids. You know, we have, you know, McDonald's jobs. We don't have 27 grand laying around jobs. None of us have credit. I was still in high school. So we couldn't do it. So we left. And, again, we actually, after we left that building, we rented out KC halls for a while, predominantly Edwardsville area. Rented out a lot of KC halls, did a lot of shows there, and then finally we went to my dad's house in his side lot, and we started running shows. We were approached by Marianne Frost, the owner of Mystical Journeys, and she just flat out said, "Look, I feel bad for you guys. You know, you guys put on great shows. I love them. My granddaughter loves them. My whole family watches them. So I want to give you a space to wrestle. Will this back room work?" And we looked at it, and the first thing I said was, well, there goes all our top rope stuff. There goes ladder matches. There goes jumping off the top rope. Rumbles are kind of rough. You know, guys flying over the top rope is kind of rough. But I wanted it to work because it was, at the time, it was do this or go and be backyard wrestlers again, and I really didn't want to regress. I have nothing against backyard wrestling. I know that's a sin, but I have nothing against backyard wrestling because there's like this notion that backyard wrestling is like super disrespectful. I've never seen it that way because backyard wrestlers don't seek to disrespect anybody. Backyard wrestlers just seek to wrestle. That's what they want to do. And when you're first starting out, it's the same way as, you know, if you want to be in the NBA, what do? You go down to the park and you play a game of pickup with your homies at the basketball court, right? You play a game, you know, kids are out playing tackle football at 7, 8 years old when they should be playing two-hand touch. You never hear anybody complain about that. The list goes on. I'm not going to get into the backyard for the whole debate, but the point I'm making is I did not feel like we should regress back to backyard wrestling. We at that point, we had already had tons of training and seminars. To name drop a couple of guys, my personal favorite on the list, I'll name first, is Tom Izzy Richmond Blackwell. He is fantastic. He's a mentor to 99.99% of my guys. His son Damien wrestles with us. Izzy Blackwell just got inducted into the Midwest Wrestling Hall of Fame, I believe. I think it was last year. And so his credentials speak for themselves. And then we've had guys like Rage come down and work very hands-on with us. Frankie D. I know Wicked was doing some stuff for a while. That was in the time period where I was kind of not out of the business, but I was very focused on just running CHWA. I wasn't really focused on wrestling. But at that point, when Frankie D was doing his, I forget what he called his school now.
Ring of Courage.
But Ring of Courage, thank you. And hi, Frankie, if you watch this, how you doing? I like Frankie. I don't know that he likes me so much because of all this, but I still have respect for Frankie D, because when he came down, he genuinely trained my guys, and anybody that denies that is foolish. Frankie D has traveled all over. Frankie D was part of Bodily Harm. He's wrestled in RCW for, 20 years? So his credentials speak for themselves. We've had guys like Leon Mephisto. He's a very polarizing guy. He's done some work with us. Leon Mephisto, I give him a lot of credit for training me. So the list goes on and on and on. So for people to say that CHWA are untrained, I'm trying really hard not to curse, Guido, but this is my first one. It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. CHWA has been trained by a number of professional wrestlers who have legitimate credentials. They have legitimate certificates. They've been all over, not just Illinois, they've been all over the United States, some out of the country. And so for people to say CHWA are full untrained wrestlers, it's just not factual. Do some of my guys need work? Absolutely. But Guido, here's what I'll say about that. You go to any indie show, any independent show, you watch WWE, you watch any wrestling show in the world, I guarantee you can pick out 2 or 3 guys that need some work, right? Any show, in any promotion. So that's the big thing. That's the first thing people like to throw around, is that CHWA is untrained. That's not true. And when Frankie D, I just want to point this out, when Frankie D was doing Ring of Courage, I was there a lot. And Frankie D had myself, P.T. Beckham, and Elride helping him train people, right? He said that we had enough knowledge that we could help people, especially with chain wrestling. So if we're good enough to train people, how are we untrained? It's just not factual when people say it. And it doesn't make me mad. What upsets me is that people just blatantly ignore fact. They ignore fact for their own opinion. I don't like that.
Okay, well, we've already opened up what I was going to talk about for the next question, and that is, well, that, you have gotten, yourself, members of your roster, and CHWA as a whole, have gotten a bad reputation because of the things you just said. And that's the thing, we've covered most of it. They say you're nothing but a bunch of untrained yard, forgive me for using this term, yard tards. Yeah, it's,
Well, and Guido, not to cut you off, because Guido, you know me personally. I'm not that guy. But the thing is, through this whole thing, and I've said this for years, and I would almost bet you the deed to my house. If we just changed the name of the company when we started doing actual shows inside of a building, people wouldn't care. They wouldn't have messed with us this long. But because we refused to change the name, which I'll get into that as to why in a second, they won't let it go. The stigma of us being backyard guys, they won't let it go. Newsflash, okay? I'm gonna name drop some wrestlers here. Newsflash. Both the Hardy Boys were backyard wrestlers when they were kids and teenagers. The current AEW World Champion, Kenny Omega, is, and I'm not making this up, you can fact check this, he has said it himself, he is not trained, he's a self-trained man. He's a self-trained wrestler, okay? And we've had training. Kenny Omega has had none out of his own mouth. I don't hate Kenny Omega, obviously. But he's the world champion and arguably the second biggest promotion in the United States of America. But nobody brings that up. No, it's only this area, Guido. This area is toxic. When AEW posts videos on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it is, of Kenny Omega, the AEW heavyweight champion, who's also now in the Impact roster, I don't see one comment about, oh, he's a backyard guy. I don't see any of that. I don't see any comments about Matt Hardy. I don't see any comments about Jeff Hardy. I see zero comments about CM Punk. I don't see comments about these guys that started in the backyard, right? I don't see any of that. And the reason you don't see any of that is because the only area where you're not allowed to transcend that title is in this area. This area is toxic. And any wrestler watching this that denies it is full of shit. Because I'm in locker rooms, Guido. People act like I don't travel and that I don't go to locker rooms. I've worked all over this area. I've worked for WPW, I've worked for RCW, obviously I run CHWA, SMPW, the list goes on and on and on. I've talked to several promoters, and in every locker room, Guido, there's politics, and that's, I think, in every wrestling locker room in America, there's probably politics, but in our area, once somebody has been deemed a certain way, a backyard guy, or their attitude sucks, they're not allowed to transcend that. Nobody listens to them. Nobody gives them the time, and nobody hears them out. And that's what's been the case here, in my opinion, okay? And it's not even an opinion, really. It's really factual as I'm laying out facts to you, because something that the professional wrestlers in our area that they don't do, they don't state facts. I cut a 3-minute video on Douglas O'Shea, which, hi Doug, how you doing? I've cut a 3-minute video on Douglas O'Shea about how he stabbed me, directly me, in my back, man, through my heart. I really cared about Douglas O'Shea. He came down to CHWA, and he stood in my locker room in front of my men and women, and he said, I'm not like all these other veterans. I want to help you kids. I want to make CHWA look as legit as possible. I really, really, really care about CHWA. He was there for 2 shows, and then he went back to RCW, and the powers that be, because I don't know who they were, because everything's got to be cryptic and anonymous, told him that if he continued with CHWA, that he would not be allowed to be at RCW. And that right there, that mentality right there, that you cannot work at CHWA or you are kicked out of locker rooms, is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You know, CHWA, like I said, some of my guys, yes, I agree they need to work on their game. But I don't understand how people, if they work at CHWA, are automatically blacklisted. And for what reason? Are we being disrespectful now? Fuck yeah. Yes, we are, because we are tired. Guido, you know me. Again, I'm going to keep preferencing this because, Guido, at this point, yes, I'm talking to everybody watching, but I'm talking to you now. You know me. I'm very respectful. I am very polite. I am very upfront. If I am in the wrong, Guido, I will admit that I've been in the wrong. And you've heard me do this in front of a whole locker room full of men and women. You've heard me do it. Once you get labeled with, like, any kind of stigma, but specifically backyarding, you can't get away from it. It's like, in this area, it will just follow you. And, you know, we went over Kenny Omega already and all those guys, but this leads me to my next point. So, when I was being trained, right, I was told by the school I went to, I won't name drop right now, because, you know, but the school I went to, it was all about respect. Everything was about respect. I go to all these locker rooms, and I hear all these guys preach about respect, okay? And that is the fakest, most delusional thing about Midwest wrestling. There is no respect. There's none. Just throwing this out there. For almost 8 years, CHWA has been silent. We try not to reply. We try very hard to just not embrace this wave of just hatefulness. But, you know, it gets hard, Guido, after 8 years of hearing that we're untrained, that our ring is small, and all this other bull crap. It gets old, man. It gets so old because it's not factual. Yeah, the ring is small. That is a factual statement. But I don't understand why that is perceived as such a bad thing, dude. Like, I cut a 3-minute video on Douglas O'Shea. Right, I cut a 3-minute video on Douglas O'Shea, and I talked about how he stood in front of my locker room, and we already went over this, his retort, Guido, was about my man bun, my ears being gauged, my tattoos, the way I dress, and the fact I wrestle in a 12-foot ring. He had no retort that addressed what I said about him. He had no retort about the fact that I called him, and I quote, a low-life, lying, cock-sucking backstabber. He had no retort to that, because all of those things are true. And he knows it. His fans know it, okay? His friends know it. That's why none of his friends are jumping to his defense, because Douglas O'Shea is a snake in the grass. And that leads me to the potatoes. Hate with a passion. He's the only guy on this earth I hate. I dislike people, but I don't hate anybody. Damian Blade. I hate him. I hate him. Because what Damian Blade likes to do is Damian Blade likes to go to all these locker rooms, and he likes to talk about how this business is a brotherhood. This business is all about respect. You know, I don't have the bald head, and, you know, I'm not fat, but I just...
Hey, whoa. Be a little careful about bald people, all right? You know?
Hey, no, you pull it off. You look beautiful, Guido.
Yeah.
Damian Blade, you know, he looks like the head of a cock, all right? So he likes to stand there, and he likes to talk about, you know, this business is about respect. This business is all about the brotherhood of professional wrestling. Yet he is the biggest backstabbing, lying cockroach that I have ever met, that I have ever had the displeasure of working with in the same locker room. And what he does, okay, every Sunday, not right now because of the thing going on, he gets right here on his little smartphone, and he watches CHWA, right? He watches the whole 2-3 hour show, because our shows sometimes go 3 hours. You know, we got a lot of guys on our roster. And he sits there. He watches it all. And then he likes to get on his little Facebook, and he likes to post little statuses. But yet, time after time after time after time, Damian Blade has been around us. Damian Blade has been around me. Damian Blade has said nothing to my face. He has said nothing to P.T. Beckham. He says nothing to any of these guys. He is a classically trained keyboard warrior. That's all he is, man. And everybody knows it. So, it kills me. Now, there is another guy I'm going to touch on. Sage Ramsey, apparently, is coming out of retirement or whatever. I don't know if he got injured or what it was. I will not disrespect Sage Ramsey. I will not do it. All I will say is that because he has respect for me, I show respect where I get respect. All I will say, Sage, because I know you're going to watch this, I got a hell of a lot of respect for you. Whatever's going on between you and PT is between you and PT. But if you mention me or this, then you become my business. And so, if you really respect me and I respect you, we'll stay out of each other's lane. Put it very simply. There are guys, Guido, there are veterans around here that are awesome, that I respect. You know, Jeremy Lightfoot's a good one. I like Jeremy. I know him and PT have a little thing, but I respect Jeremy Lightfoot. I would die. I would lay my life on the line for Izzy Blackwell and the whole Blackwell family, including his son Damien, who wrestles at CHWA. I respect guys like that. And there's more I could sit here and list off that I do respect, that I have respect for. Victor Cortez actually gave me a pair of kick pads. Me and Victor Cortez were tight. All right? I got to give a lot of respect to Chris Riot. A lot. Because me and Chris Riot, little behind the curtain thing here, we hated each other. I said a lot of bad things to Chris Riot. Chris Riot said a lot of bad things to me. And we said some shit. But me and Chris Riot, we got on the phone. We were going to talk at WPW, and unfortunately the show we were going to talk at face-to-face to, you know, just shake hands and be done with it, unfortunately got canceled because of what's going on in America. So I didn't get the opportunity to shake Chris Riot's hand, but Chris, if you watch this, and I know you probably will, nothing but respect to him as well. So, there are veterans. This isn't just a CHWA hates veterans thing, because that would be stupid, right? That would be pretty stupid. It's CHWA against the people that have not left us alone for 8 years. We've laid down, we've been quiet, we've been respectful, we have tried so hard to take advice, but at this point, I don't want their advice. I don't need their advice. And you know what? That's going to piss a lot of people off. And that's what makes them mad, Guido. We don't need them. We don't need them. Wrestling doesn't need them. You know why? Because wrestling evolves. Wrestling moves on. We are all, me, you, every wrestler on my roster, every wrestler in the Midwest, we are a cog on the wheel, Guido. The wheel is going to keep on turning. The wrestling wheel, it's going to, in 10, 20 years, the wheel's going to keep going. There's going to be new kids around here and all over the country and all over the world that are coming up, and I'm going to be an old man. Okay, I'll be almost 45 at that point, which isn't old in reality, but in the ring, 45, as you know, you're starting to get out of your prime. You're starting to hurt a little more. So, but I'll be where most of these guys that don't like CHWA are at right now. The difference between I and them will be that I will not be bitter at the kids for trying to make a name for themselves. I will not chastise them. And this is one more thing I want to talk about. And this is 100%. If you thought anything else wasn't a shoot, this is 150,000% a shoot. And this is a message to all the young wrestlers. Do not let veterans beat the hell out of you. Do not let veterans shit in your bag. Do not let veterans hit you in your dick. Do not let them abuse you. Okay, I'm so sick of this idea that young kids shouldn't stand up for themselves. I'm telling you right now, and this is 100% a shoot, you put your hands on me in any kind of unwarranted way, I'm going to break your jaw. I don't want to be touched, and you're not going to touch me. And that's all there is to it. And if you got a problem with that, try it and find out. Because I hate that idea that young kids should just be chastised and fucked with. I think that's my third one. Fucked with, there's 4. About letting veterans abuse them, physically, mentally, destroy their property. Why? Why is that okay? And why is nobody talking about it? I don't agree with that. It's stupid. So that's 100% a shoot. If you take nothing else from this video, whoever you are that is watching, if you take nothing else from this video that you think that I'm not just shooting from the hip, well, that is 100% a shot from the hip. Do not let, I'm not saying don't have fun, right? Don't, if you get pranked or whatever, it's whatever. But when you're starting to get to a point that you are getting upset because these guys or girls, because I'm sure it happens in the women's locker room too, but I'm a man, so I don't know, are destroying your property, cutting up your tights, just beating you in the ring to the point you can't walk the next day. Why are you letting them do that? Why do you surround yourself with those people? Stupid. Stupid. And I will never change my stance on that. Even once which I'll never achieve the veteran status because I'll always be a backyarder. But even once I, at some point, achieve veteran status, I won't do that to people. I never have. You can ask any of my guys. I'll bring any of them in here right now. I've never abused anybody. I never will. Ever.
Well.
Sorry.
No. Well, let's move on. As you've mentioned, due to the pandemic, you have no building, you have no place to do shows at this exact moment. But many are hopeful we are turning the corner. What do you see the future of CHWA looking like? Whether it be
Oh, no, go ahead, Guido.
Whether it be within the next few months or a decade down the road.
So, I'm going to put it to you like this. I want to give a home to people, right? A lot of my guys, they miss it. We shut down. This is a rumor I want to clear up now that I have the platform to do it where thousands of people are going to hear it. CHWA is not dead. We shut down because we lost our place of operation, right? Mystical Journeys, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, could not stay open. They were our business partner. We had a great working relationship with them. I really missed them. But they shut down. We lost our place of operation. The company itself decided to shut down temporarily to figure out, put our chess pieces where we want them. And then once the pandemic is, I'm not going to say fully gone because I don't, this is not wrestling related, but I don't think it'll ever fully go away. But once it's to the point that everyone's kind of back to normal living to most part, and we get the okay to be able to do live wrestling shows, I don't want to say we've acquired a place because that's not technically true yet, but there are a handful of places that we're really, really looking at, really considering, that are very much in our price range. It's very easy to get into somewhere. The city of Alton and the city of Cottage Hills, which I forgot to bring that up. I'm going to go off on a tangent here in 1 second, and then I swear to God I'm done. Anyway, the city of Alton, the city of Cottage Hills, they really like us. We do a lot of charity work. We donate to the fire departments. Like Red Cross in Alton here is great. We donate a lot to them. St. Jude's is a great place that we like as well. So anybody watching this, I know this isn't even a CHWA plug. If you got a couple extra bucks laying around, donate at St. Jude's. They're awesome. But the city of Alton, we're in very good standings with them. They send out police officers, fire department all the time to check out our show. They love it. The mayor of Alton loves it. The police chief himself has actually bought tickets for his family a ton of times and sat in the audience and really enjoyed himself. So getting in a building is not going to be difficult for us at all. But it's just a matter of location, location, location with any business, right? Like with any business. It's like that. Of course. Location, 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 and just picking the right time when we have the okay from the, state government and whatnot to do that, right? I do have a state representative that I talk to very frequently. He is awesome. So we're in touch, and we're going to try, hopefully 2021, but honestly, it depends on the pandemic numbers, man. And I think that's like that with everywhere. But I do want to go off on one more tangent. The reason I said this earlier, like before everything happened. So if we would have just changed the name, right, then nobody would have. The reason we will not change the name, because we've had people chastise us for not changing our name from the backyard name. There's one reason. I've lived in Cottage Hills for almost 25 years. Okay, I'll be 25 in May. Lived here 25 years. Cottage Hills has always been a shithole. It's always been a shithole. It's riddled with just drugs. It's riddled with crime. And all the youth in this area have nothing. They have nothing. We have no skate park. We don't have a park to play. The park that we have to play in is where the shootings happen. So kids can't even go to a park. We don't have movie theater. We have one restaurant. The one. And they're pretty good. I like their food. They're great. We have a restaurant, we have a vape shop, and we have a gas station. That is what our youth get here. So I wanted to provide a space for the youth of Cottage Hills to come, and they can watch the show, they can enjoy it. That's something they can do on the weekend. If somebody's interested, because maybe they have a shitty home life like I did growing up, or like most of my roster, and most people in general I think had a shitty home life, but my roster especially, they can get away from that. They can see that they don't have to follow that cycle. They can break the cycle, right? That's another big thing. Cottage Hills doesn't even have a school, right? We don't even have a school here. We have to go to another town to go to school because our school got shut down because it didn't have funds, right? So I wanted to provide something for Cottage Hills that was positive, because there's nothing here that's positive. Now, recently, there's a Ninja Warrior gym, but that's technically still in the next town over. I don't even think that qualifies as Cottage Hills. I'm not sure. So don't fully quote me on that one. But we have nothing. We have nothing. And I wanted, when kids get older, because there is a stigma about living here. When you go to this other school, it will remain nameless because I don't want the people of the internet to do what the internet does and mess with the school. But when you go to this school, there is a stigma that you're a dirty kid, that you're a broke kid, that you're a druggy kid, like you're all these things. And I want them to be able to break that stigma and break that cycle. And I want them to be able to be proud of Cottage Hills. So thus the name, Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance. It will never change. I don't care if we move to Baltimore. It will never change. If we wrestle in Alaska, it will never change. I don't care where we wrestle. It will not change. It will always be Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance. So if you don't like the name, I'm sorry about your damn luck, I guess. I don't know. I'm not changing it.
Okay, well, thank you, Chris, for your time. Now, I understand, right now you're still working on getting some shows up. Is there a place where people can watch previous Cottage Hill CHWA matches? And is there any social media you yourself want to plug?
Yes. So if you go on Facebook, you can find us at Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance. We're the first thing that pops up. I think we got 2,500, somewhere in the thousands. It's like 2,000, maybe 3. It's been a while since I checked, to be honest with you. I don't really pay attention to the likes anymore. But you can check out a lot of shows there. There's even shows on there that I will not delete, which I've caught some heat over, from the backyard days, like way back in like 2012. There's a lot of history there. So for somebody who's wants, we've got the Facebook page.
Okay.
We do have a YouTube channel.
Chris, we had some hiccups. Chris, we had some hiccups.
Okay.
We had some hiccups there.
Okay.
It was basically starting right. It was starting. Basically, just start over from where I asked if there's places they can watch your matches, and is there any social media you want to plug?
Okay. All right. So we do have a Facebook page. We've got a big following on there. If you type in Cottage Chills Wrestling Alliance, you can find it. There is years of matches. I mean, years. There's even stuff back from like 2012, 2013 where we're in the backyard. Way before we even went and trained to be pro wrestlers. There's stuff there. It's really fun to watch. I watch it all the time just to see how much we've grown. So years worth of footage. If nobody's ever watched CHW, like if you watching have never watched it, and you want to like check it out, learn about it, you can go and watch from the original beginning on Facebook. I think that's awesome. We do have a YouTube. We stopped doing YouTube because the copyright law on YouTube got very strict with entrance music, and we actually received a channel strike. And I didn't want the channel with all of these years of videos getting deleted, so we quit uploading to YouTube, and that's why we've switched to the live streaming format on Facebook with our multiple camera setup, with the commentary desk and everything. That all is on Facebook now. We did have a TikTok for a while. I don't think we have one anymore. I'm not sure. That's more of a question for my wife, because she is more into the social media than I am. But I think we had a TikTok. If you just type in at Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance, I think it's still there. I know our lady wrestlers had one for a while. And then the only other social media that I really want to plug, man, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I don't post wrestling stuff there. I keep that wrestling free. I post kendama stuff, video game stuff. I even post like links to reviews on my own personal YouTube. And you can check it out all on my Instagram at True Exodus 7, capital T, capital E, no spaces. So okay, so my friend over here is telling me we still do have a TikTok. So you can check out our TikTok. I don't know how active it is, because like I said, I'm hands off with TikTok. I got banned on there for vaping. So I've been off TikTok for a while now. And that's a whole nother rant me and you could have off camera, Guido. But yeah, so TikTok is there, and I don't really think there's another social media that we have. I think we're talking about starting a Twitter, but Twitter's kind of a different world.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm on Twitter. Me
too.
It's an interesting place.
Yeah, well, and it's like cool. Like if you're a part of some good communities and handles on Twitter, and like hashtags, but like man, Twitter gets lit.
Yeah.
Twitter gets lit. So,
yes,
well, Guido, I just want to, real quick, man, just from all of us at CHWA, okay, not just me, I just wanted to thank you for allowing me to have a platform to just talk. I know that some of you that watch this might not like that I am a little disrespectful, that I do curse. I just want everybody to know, genuinely, from the bottom of my cold black heart, that CHWA appreciates all of our audience. We appreciate every single person that tunes in, even people that don't like it. We understand that we're not the biggest and we're not the baddest, but to me, this seems like a factual statement. CHWA is the loudest. So yeah, just thank you from all of us at CHWA for giving me this platform to come on here and talk and just explain some things. And yeah, man, anybody that watches this that gets offended, fact check stuff. Fact check me. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I'm willing to argue all day, because you can't argue facts.
Well,
I really want to quote the guy, but I don't know if he'd get mad if I quoted him or not.
Well, I think that about sums it up, Chris. And thank you for taking your time joining us here in the hot seat on the Guido Goes Off. I know there's like 15 other things that we could have discussed. I'm sure there'll be a time when we can get together again for this. All right. Once again, Chris Exodus, thank you for joining us here on in the hot seat on the Guido Goes Off. Ladies and gentlemen, who do you want to see in the hot seat? Drop a line in the comments section down below. Of course, if you want to follow the CHWA on Facebook, find Chris Exodus on Instagram, right? Instagram. Yeah, a link will be in the description below. Once again, that's going to do it for us here on the Guido Goes Off. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Stay tuned as we have a lot of people coming to join us here on the hot seat. But until next time, for Chris Exodus, I am the Guido, and I think we're done here.